Hello, beautiful people. Another beautiful day. Happy to be alive. Happy to be out here. The rain looks like it's about to fall, but I wanted to come out here and make this video real quick before it came down. And I really hope y'all are doing well. I really hope y'all are taking care of your health, especially your mental health. And I really hope y'all are taking the time to be present and to be grateful. Because there's always something to be grateful for, right? Now, I wanted to talk to you guys about something that is very important today. And what I wanted to discuss today is where there is fear, there is an opportunity for growth. No, but I've always been a person that lived my life in a perpetual state of fear, right? Not only fear, but comfort. Anything that was outside my comfort zone, I wouldn't dare venture, right? And if you told me 3 years ago that I would literally be setting up a camera and speaking to a camera and posting it online for other people to see, then I probably would have laughed at you, right? And to me, it's still unreal because that was one of the best decisions that I've made in my life, right? And obviously, I have a small channel, right? So it's not like millions and thousands of people watch my videos. But more and more every day, I'm beginning to realize that when it comes on to doing something that you love, it's not more so about the accolades and the achievements and the things that you gain from it, right? But more so who you become in the process of doing it, right? And doing something of this nature, doing something of this sort, literally speaking to a camera in front of people, has definitely been a step towards coming out of my comfort zone, right? But earlier this year, right, when the year started, I made a promise to myself. I made a promise that I was going to face my fears and I was going to do things that were outside of my comfort zone, right? Because, like I said before, I was a person that lived my life in comfort. And so I made a promise to myself that I was gonna do things that are outside my comfort zone, right? Because the truth is that you can't really grow in a state of comfort. I believe that a lot of us we sort of create these cages around ourselves, right? These metal cages made from our self doubts, made from our insecurities, made from our fears, right? And we put ourselves in those cages. And you cannot grow if you keep yourself in a cage, right? The cage might seem comfortable, right? The cage might seem as if, you're being protected from the world, you're staying safe, and you might, in a sense, feel safe, right? But that in itself is what is placing, I guess, restrictions on us and confinements, right? We're literally stifling an aspect of our life, on our growth and our evolution whenever we create these cages around us from fear and comfort, right? And so I identified things within myself that I needed to face, fears that I needed to conquer. And one of those things was I needed to, learn to be comfortable doing things alone. Like I said in a video that I made 2 weeks ago, when it comes on to doing certain things alone, I have no problem doing them. But when it comes on to things that are sort of outside my comfort zone, or things that I would normally do by myself, it's sort of difficult. And so, like I said, I identified a few things. And I decided that I was gonna face every single one of them. Now, right now, we're 7 months in the year, and looking back, that's one of the best decisions that I've ever made, right? Because during those 7 months in which I identified things that I needed to face, and I faced them, I did them, I've literally become a different person because of it. There's so much growth that I've made this year simply from facing the fears and facing the things that were not so comfortable, for me. And I've made so much growth. And very often, our fears are the things that are sort of preventing us from becoming the person that we want to become. Whenever we're in a state of comfort, you know, it prevents us from growing. And I think very often we sort of attach a negative stigma or negative connotation, to fears, right? And we sort of believe that just because we have fears, there's something wrong with us for being fearful, right? Or there's something wrong in general for having fears. But I'm realizing more and more every day that fear is really a natural part of the human experience, right? Every single person that has walked this earth has some degree of fear or has experienced some degree of fear, right? Every single one of us. It doesn't matter who you are. Even the bravest men had their fears. And so very often we sort of begin to feel guilty for having fears. And when we do that, not only are we still confined to the things that we do fear, but our fears grow even more. And it truly is about facing the things that you fear, facing the unknown. Because the truth is that the aspect of us, the person that we want to become, lies on the other side of the things that we're running away from, lies on the other side of our comfort. And in order for us to become the person that we want to become, it's not about running away from our fears. It's not about demonizing ourselves or feeling guilty for having fears. It's about walking towards our fears, facing them, right? And the more I go through the things that I fear, the more I sort of realize that, they're not so scary after all. Like they really aren't so scary. You know, in the moment when you're so, I guess, confined by your fears, whenever it's time for you to face them, it seems as if it's the end of the world, right? It feels like the world is crashing down. And I'm realizing that that's all in our minds. That's literally just a psychological phenomenon. Like, for example, I used to have this fear of, for example, speaking to the camera, right? Turning on a camera and speaking to the camera. I didn't really like, my voice, um, especially, the fact that I had an accent, right? I thought my personality wasn't extravagant enough for the camera. I thought that people wouldn't care to listen to me. But I'm realizing that it doesn't even matter if those things are true, right? Let's say people really don't care to listen to me, right? Let's say people, you know, find me boring. They don't care what I have to say. It's not even about that. It's about me expressing myself. It's about me doing the thing that I love and the thing that I want to do, right? You can do something and you can do it for the rest of your life, and no one, might like it, right? Let's say that's true, right? Which is virtually impossible because the simple fact that you're the simple fact that you're doing something that you love means that there's someone in this world who's going to like it. But let's say, for argument's sake, no one likes the fact that I make these videos, right? I'm realizing more and more that it doesn't truly matter because it really isn't about how you look to the outside world. It's about how you feel within. And if you're waking up every day and you're striving towards the things that you love, you're working towards your goals, you're working towards your dreams, it doesn't matter what the world has to say. The world is gonna have their opinion of you, and it doesn't truly matter. Very often we stifle an aspect of who we are or the fear of how we are going to be perceived. And that's one of the worst things that we can possibly do. If you were to live your life, right? If you were to live your life and you live your life solely based on the opinions of people, then you never truly know any sort of happiness and peace and joy in this world. You always be, I guess, limiting yourself and confining yourselves based on other people's perception. And what's the point of living and you're not living your life, but you're living other people's life because you're living based on their perception, right? There's no point at all. And to be honest with you, I used to care so much about what the other people think of me. I made the words or the perspective of other people so real in my mind that I would keep the real me inside the cage. I would stifle the real Dafarni. And there's no happiness that can be found in keeping the real you in a cage. I believe that within every single one of us, there is, the real self, right? Who we truly are at our nature. And who we are at our nature is always trying to express itself. It's always trying to, I guess, come out, right? And within our real self is where our love lies. Within our true self is where our freedom lies, right? Freedom can only be found in the authentic you. But how often do we allow fear to keep the real us from coming out? A lot of people in this world are severely unhappy because they cannot even show up to the world as themselves. A lot of people are unhappy because they are afraid of being themselves. They're afraid of, I guess, dropping the facade, taking off the mask, and showing the real them to the world, right? A lot of people are. Fear of judgment, fear of not being good enough, fear of being ridiculed, fear that people might not like you. There's so many different fears that we face on the daily. I'm sort of realizing that you cannot know freedom until you go through your fears. Freedom exists on the other side of our fears. Who we truly are exists on the other side of our fears. But this world was sort of, I guess, manufactured or set up so that you could be confined to your fears. This world was set up so that you in a sense keep the real you in a cage and you're afraid of expressing yourself and expressing who you truly are. That's how the world was set up. And there are so many forces that are sort of, you know, aligning with that mission. to keep us in a cage. Very often, I feel like the only time we can truly be ourselves is when we're alone. Because when we're alone, it's sort of like you're not worried about the eyes of other people on you. When you're alone, you're not afraid of being yourself because there's no one watching to judge. Unless you're at a place in which you judge yourself, and that's a whole different conversation, which a lot of us struggle with that as well. It really is so amazing how the world sort of teaches us at a young age that there's something wrong with the real us. I was saying the other day that there's no such thing as normal. Like if everyone was to, I guess, drop their fears and just be themselves, do the things that they love, right? Everyone would sort of be abnormal in a sense. There would be no such thing as normal. Everyone would, you know, be weird. Every single one of us is unique in our own way. There's no such thing as a normal person. Society has created this paradigm of being normal, but normal doesn't exist. Like, normal is simply a lie that we've been told. You really can't grow if you live in fear. You really can't grow unless you face your fears. Freedom truly does exist on the other side of our fears. The only thing that is keeping us unhappy, unfulfilled, you know, feeling like we're not loved, feeling isolated, is truly our fears. A lot of people believe that the opposite of love is hate, right? When in actuality, the opposite of love is fear. Fear is the opposite of love, and even hate itself comes from fear. Hate is a byproduct of fear. Fear keeps us from being the best version of ourselves. Fear keeps us unhappy. Fear keeps us sad. And until we go through fear, we're not going to know what freedom truly is. And like I said before, there's nothing wrong with having fear, right? What I would classify as wrong is allowing fear to keep you in a cage for the rest of your life. My biggest fear, and that might sound paradoxical, right? But my biggest fear is being 60, 70, 80 years old, whenever I'm about to die, right? Hopefully, I make it that far and I give what I have to give to the world. But my biggest fear is being that age, lying on my deathbed, looking back and having regrets and sort of regretting that I didn't truly live up to my standards, not society standards, my standards. My biggest fear is allowing fear to keep me in a cage. That sounds very paradoxical, but it's true. My biggest fear is not expressing the real me to the world because of fear. My biggest fear is not giving my gifts to the world because of fear. My biggest fear is never making my way over to a girl that I find attractive, which could be the love of my life because of fear. The only thing that keeps us stuck in this world is fear. And until we face our fears, then we never truly are going to be able to live the life that we want to live and become the person that we want to become. And so don't really see fear as necessarily your enemy. See it as a precursor between who you are in the present moment and who you want to become. See it as something that you have to face, not fight, but face, in order to live the life and become the person that you want to become. You don't want to be old and have regrets about your life. Life is too short for that. Like think about it. 70 years or 70 something years is the average life expectancy, right? That's nothing at all. By the time you quit, you're 35, and then you have, let's say, another 40 more years after that, to live. That's no time at all. Just the other day, I felt like I was literally in kindergarten. Just the other day, I felt like I was in high school, and time has literally flown by. Fear truly has the potential to rob you of your life, literally. I'm sure a lot of people are watching this video right now, and they have dreams, aspiration, things that they want to, I guess, work towards, but you're allowing fear to keep you from going towards it. Fear of being ridiculed, fear of the world, you know, looking at you a certain way. Maybe you want to film YouTube videos and you're afraid people might watch your videos and laugh. People might say that you're not good enough. Maybe you want to start that business and you fear you might fail. You fear, people might not support you. Right? Fear truly is our biggest obstacle. That's what I'm realizing more and more every day. So if you're watching this and you made it this far, who you want to be and the life that you want to live exists on the other side of your fears. And wherever you find fear in this moment in your life, or whatever it is that you fear, that's where your growth lies. That's who you want to become lies. And so you're not meant to run from fear. And I don't want you to feel guilty for having fears because it's a natural part of your human experience. I always say, show me a man with no fears and I show you a liar. Because we all do. No matter how great or how small they are, we all do, to some degree, have fears. Even some of our fears are subconscious, unconscious. We're not even aware of them, but they are there. So don't feel guilty for having fear, and don't allow fear to keep you confined and keep you in a cage. Face them, identify them one by one, and walk towards them, walk through them, because that truly is the only way you're going to live the life that you want to live and become the person that you want to become. Right? That truly is the only way. And you can have everything you want or desire in this life. None of us is, you know, not good enough. I know we feel as if we aren't, right? Feel as if we aren't good enough, but we are. Our natural self or authentic self is good enough for whatever it is that we came into this world to do and came into this world to be. But this world is literally ran by fear. Our lives are ran by fear. And fear is not only keeping us in a low vibrational state, but it's keeping us from living the life that we want to live and becoming the person that we want to become. So starting from today, start facing your fears. Start doing the things that you're afraid of doing. Because that truly is where the growth that you seek, the life that you want, truly lies. So thank you guys for watching once again. Thank you for being here with me. And I'm always remind y'all to go outside and enjoy life. Life is beautiful. And really take care of yourselves and be safe. And don't be afraid to venture into the unknown. I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace and blessings.